The fire had already swallowed most of the wreck. Smoke curled like dark snakes through broken steel and glowing wires. The escape pod had crashed deep into the mountains of planet Varela. Nothing around but ash, fire, and the sound of systems. Dying. The human rescue team moved quickly. Their scanners beeped, checking for life signs. Nothing but heat and metal, one of them said. Their leader, Eli Carter, paused. His helmet visor showed only red. Check again. They scanned twice. Nothing. They turned back. But Eli didn't move. His gut told him something was wrong. He looked at the wreck again. And then it came, a scream, faint, weak, full of pain. Please. Help. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Eli raised his hand. Stop, someone's alive. The team hesitated. Could be a glitch. That was a voice, Eli said, stepping closer. Inside the twisted metal, a small space glowed dimly. He climbed into the heat and smoke. Sparks bit his suit, and hot air filled his lungs. But he didn't stop. He found her. An alien girl, barely more than a teenager, purple skin, long, silver hair stuck to her face with blood and sweat. Her eyes wide with fear. One of her arms was melted into the wall, glued by some strange, sticky chemical. Her body trembled. The smell of burnt flesh was strong. She looked up at him. You're human? Yes, he said softly, kneeling beside her. You're here to cut it off, aren't you? Eli looked at her arm, red, swollen, stuck tight to the pod wall. The glue was glowing faintly, still active. No scanner could have picked her up inside this mess. Her body temperature had blended with the fire. He pulled out a small blade. She closed her eyes. Her lips shook. Just do it quickly. But Eli didn't move. He put the blade away. No, he said. I'm not here to cut you. I'm here to save you. Her eyes shot open. What? I don't give up that easily. He opened his medkit and began working, cooling gel first. He sprayed it gently around the glue. She winced. What's your name? He asked. Lyra. All right, Lyra. I'm Eli. I need you to trust me. No one else tried, she whispered. I'm not no one else, he said, smiling slightly. The glue hissed as it touched the gel, sending up a small cloud of smoke. Eli frowned. The reaction was slow, not strong enough. Lyra moaned in pain. It's burning again. I know. I'm sorry, he said. Just hold on. He tried a solvent from his kit. The glue flared up too aggressive. Stop, please. She cried. Eli dropped the solvent and cursed. All right, plan C. Outside, his radio crackled. Commander Eli, evac team reports. Rising temperatures. You have 3 minutes before total collapse. Copy that, he said, but didn't move. Inside, he took off one of his water packs and poured a few drops on the glue. It hissed again. A burn mark flashed across Lyra's shoulder. She screamed. Eli flinched. Damn it, no water, got it. She was crying now. Her breath came in short, fast gasps. You can still cut it. I won't scream again, just do it. But, he shook his head. I told you, Lyra, I'm not giving up. She stared at him like he was mad. Why? You don't even know me. You're alive. That's enough. Suddenly, the wall behind them groaned. A pipe exploded somewhere in the ship. Fire rose higher outside the pod. 2 minutes left. Eli looked at the melted console beside her. It had emergency coolant fluid inside used for alien tech. Maybe it could work. He grabbed a tool and smashed it open. Blue liquid oozed out. He dipped his fingers and carefully applied it to the glue. It hissed, crackled, sizzled. Then, a small pop. A corner of her arm came loose. Her eyes widened. What did you do? Improvised, he said, but just then, the floor shook. A heavy piece of the ceiling fell, barely missing them. Time's up, the radio said. Eli. Get out, that pod's going down. He ignored it. His fingers moved faster now, spreading the coolant. More glue started to release, but his hand was burning. The chemical was reacting to his suit. He tore off the glove and kept working barehanded. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would a human hurt himself for me?" He smiled, even as pain ran through his skin. "Because humans don't leave people behind." The final glue line cracked. Her arm dropped free. Lyra gasped. I can move." Alilai grabbed her hand. "Then help me get us out of here." But before they could stand, the pod lurched. The exit collapsed. And fire rushed in. Smoke swallowed the air. The fire was too close now. The pod tilted, sparks dancing like angry insects. Across the cracked floor, Eli's voice was steady, but his eyes were sharp. "Don't let go of my hand, Lyra." She clutched his hand with her half-burned fingers. "I can't run. My leg's numb. I'm not asking you to run. Just crawl. I'll cover you." They moved together, slow and heavy, toward the flickering outline of the emergency hatch now. Half blocked by fallen metal, the heat was unbearable. Lyra's lungs burned. Ayla's face was soaked in sweat. "Ayla," she gasped, "you can leave me. The path is too small. You can fit through alone." He didn't answer. Instead, he reached down, pulled out a small metal injector, and jammed it into her leg. She screamed. Then suddenly she could feel her toes. What was that? Painkiller. Muscle stimulant. "Should work for 15 minutes. He said, "Long enough to get us out." Lyra stared at him in disbelief. "You had that the whole time?" He looked at her, serious. "I had one shot. I saved it for when you could move." The roof cracked again. Another explosion echoed from deeper inside the pod. Time was nearly up. He pulled out a mini-tool from his belt and aimed it at the metal beam blocking the hatch. The laser tip lit up, but the charge failed halfway. "Out of power," he muttered. "Now what?" Lyra asked, panic creeping into her voice. Eli stood still for a second, thinking. Then slowly, he took a breath and said something she didn't expect. "I'll try something else." He unstrapped the entire laser tool from his wrist, turned it around, and pulled out its power core, a bright, humming sphere the size of a lemon. "Wait," Lyra said, eyes wide. "That thing, it can explode, can't it?" "If I mess up the wiring, yes," Eli said calmly. "If I do it right, we get a power surge strong enough to blast through that metal. Are you sure it'll work?" "No," he said. "But I'm sure you're not dying in here." He got to work, his fingers fast and confident. Wires were twisted. Energy pulsed from the core. Sweat dripped down his temple. Lyra could feel her chest tighten. Not from smoke this time, but from something else. No one had ever fought for her like this. No one had ever looked at her like she was worth saving. She watched his hands, trembling from heat and strain. And she whispered, almost to herself, "Why are you like this? You risked your hand, you risked your life, now this." Eli didn't look up, because I made a promise. "To who?" "To myself," he said, "that if I ever had a chance to do something good, I wouldn't waste it." The power core sparked hard. "Back!" he shouted, grabbing Lyra and pulling her down behind a broken panel. A flash of white light exploded from the core. The hatch burst open. The blocking beam split in half. Smoke and sparks flew everywhere, but the path was clear. Eli groaned. His hand was burned from the surge. Lyra tried to stand. Her leg was shaky, but she managed. He nodded. "You're walking. That's good enough." Together, limping and coughing, they reached the open hatch. Fresh air blasted through. Outside, the rescue ship hovered low. One soldier jumped down with a cable line. "There they are." The soldier yelled. Eli wrapped his arm around Lyra and clipped her to the line first. She grabbed his shirt. "You first." He smiled through the pain. "You weigh less." The line pulled her up, higher, higher. She looked down. He was getting smaller. Then she saw it. The pod was shifting. The wall behind Eli cracked, and a massive piece of the ceiling came loose. Eli. He looked up. Their eyes locked. Crash. The wall collapsed. Smoke covered everything. She screamed into the wind. I. The rescue team yanked her inside the ship. She fought them, trying to go back. Let me go. He's still in there. But the ship turned. They were pulling away, and Lyra watched in horror as the wreck disappeared in the flames below. Smoke rose into the dark sky like a scream no one could hear. Inside the rescue ship, Lyra slammed her fists against the window. "Turn around," she shouted. "He's still down there. He's alive." The crew held her back gently but firmly. One medic wrapped a blanket around her. Another checked her vitals, but she didn't care. She didn't feel her burns. She didn't feel her pain. She only felt the silence where Eli should have been. The commander sighed. If he didn't make it out during the blast, he's gone. Lyra turned slowly, her voice like ice. "You didn't know him." The man blinked. He was human. Brave, sure, but not fireproof. She stared at him. "No," she whispered. "He was more than that." 20 minutes earlier. Eli wasn't dead. Not yet. He woke under broken metal, a sharp pain in his ribs and the taste of ash in his mouth. His helmet was gone. Air was thin, hot. He moved slowly, dragging his body through the cracks. His hand was still burned from the power core. His left leg didn't move, but he was alive, and he smiled. "That's something." The wreck creaked above him. The explosion had torn a hole through the escape pod, but it had also pushed the fire back, just long enough. He knew the rescue ship was probably gone by now. Protocol. No returns. But maybe they'd left a drone. He reached for his belt, but it was gone too. No comms. No signal. He was truly alone. Outside, above the clouds, Lyra paced the ship's medbay. Her arm was wrapped in cooling gel. Her burns were treated. Her wounds were healing, but not her mind. She couldn't stop hearing his voice. "You're walking. That's good enough. You're alive. That's enough." And now he was probably dying because of her. Suddenly she stood up. "I need a pod." "What?" "A return pod. Drop me near the wreck. You're injured." "I don't care. It's suicide." She stared at the officer. "You call it suicide. I call it not leaving someone behind." There was silence. Then a soft voice came from behind her. It was the comms officer. "Wait, we're picking up movement." Lyra rushed over. "Where?" The screen blinked. A heat signal. Weak, slow, but moving. Inside the wreckage. "It's him." She whispered. Back on the ground, Eli crawled over to a shattered console. He needed a beacon, anything that could send a signal up. He ripped wires with bare hands. His fingers bled. His vision blurred. He laughed to himself. "Lyra, you better be safe up there." He connected one last wire. A small red light blinked. Just once. Then again. Flash. A rescue pod landed hard just outside the blast zone. The doors opened. Lyra ran out. "Eli!" she screamed. "Where are you?" No answer. Only the sound of burning metal and her boots hitting the ground. She followed the smoke, the broken steel, the red blinks, and then she saw him, half covered in debris. One hand raised weakly. His face, bruised and bloodied. "Still, didn't cut your arm," he said with a weak smile. Tears ran down her face. She dropped beside him. "You idiot, you beautiful, stupid, brave idiot." He coughed a laugh. "You came back." "Of course." "I did," she said, holding his face. "You taught me that." They sat in silence for a moment, fire crackling around them. Then Lyra stood up. "I'm getting you out, just like you got me out." He shook his head. "You'll never lift the beam." "Your arm's still," she growled. "Watch me." She braced her body, gritted her teeth, and pushed. Her muscles screamed. Her burns stung. But she didn't stop, and the metal moved inch by inch until Eli was free. He collapsed into her arms. She smiled. Humans don't give up, right? He nodded, barely awake. Apparently, neither do aliens. The sky was turning red behind the smoke. Lyra's arms shook as she dragged Eli across the jagged terrain. Every breath she took scraped her lungs like broken glass. Her body was bruised, her wounds were raw. But she refused to stop. He had saved her when no one else would. Now, it was her turn. Eli's head rested against her shoulder, eyes half closed. His voice was faint, but still holding on. Lyra, you should have left me, she hissed through her teeth. Say that again and I'll drop you, he chuckled, weak. Fair. They reached the rescue pod she had landed in just minutes ago. She punched the hatch and the door opened with a hiss. Alarms inside blinked red. The ship's eye spoke calmly. Warning, pilot vitals critical, foreign contaminant detected. Lyra laid him down. His skin was pale. His arm was swelling. And around the burns on his fingers, something was spreading. Veins. Dark, twisting up his arm. What is that? She asked, fear crawling into her throat. Eli didn't answer. He just stared at his hand. Lyra pressed on his chest. Talk to me. What's happening? His voice was dry, barely a whisper. I think. My blood reacted with the glue. Her eyes widened. The glue you tried to break? He nodded slowly. It wasn't just a chemical. It had bioproperties, living enzymes. It's inside me now. Lyra's heart stopped for a second. You knew this could happen. Eli turned his head slightly. Didn't think it would spread this fast. She looked at the eye panel. It was scanning his body. Toxic compound detected in bloodstream. Human host compatibility, 0%. Time to failure, 18 minutes. No, she said. No. She turned to the medkit. No antitoxin. No purifier. Nothing made for this kind of alien compound. She banged her fists on the wall. There has to be something. Eli opened his eyes. There is, maybe. She turned quickly. What? Tell me. There's a filtration system. In the lower deck, emergency use only. It can flush toxins if modified. She was already moving before he finished. Inside the lower deck, Lyra tore open panels, hands flying over controls she barely understood. The machine looked ancient, clearly not meant for humans. Still, she remembered what Eli had done for her. How he had risked his blood to save her arm. Now, she had to risk something back. She connected the filtration hose to a blood transfer line and rewired the input system to accept human vitals. Sweat dripped from her forehead. The machine blinked. Ready. She sprinted back up. Eli's breaths were shallow now. His arm was nearly black from elbow to wrist. Eli, wake up. He opened one eye. Look at you, stealing tech now. She smiled, even through her panic. You gave me bad habits. She lifted him into the chair and pushed the line into his arm. The machine beeped, then roared to life. A blue glow filled the pod. His blood moved through the tube, passed through the purifier, and flowed back into him. But the system began shaking. The enzyme was fighting back. The screen blinked. Toxin resistance, high solution unstable. Inject counteragent. Lyra stared at the warning. Counteragent? There was none. Unless. She froze. Her blood. The glue hadn't affected her the same way. She had survived contact. Her species' blood might counter the toxin. But human and alien blood mixing? That was forbidden. Dangerous. Could kill both. Eli looked up. Don't even think about it. She said nothing. Lyra, no. She took the second tube and connected it to her arm. Too late. She pressed start. Their blood mixed in the purifier. Eli screamed. His body shook violently. Lyra winced as pain fired through her veins. She bit her lip, held on, and didn't stop. The toxin began to fade. Vein by vein. Color returned to his face. The swelling eased. He slumped forward, breathing harder but stronger. She pulled out the tubes and collapsed beside him. His eyes fluttered open. "You're insane." She smiled weakly. "I learned from the best." The storm outside had calmed. But inside the pod, silence was heavy. Lyra sat against the wall, her chest rising and falling fast. Her arms trembled, not from pain but from what she had just done. Her alien blood still pumped through the purifier. Cables. Beside her, Eli lay still, wrapped in a blanket of exhaustion. The purifier beeped one last time. Contamination cleared. Human vitals stabilizing. Lyra exhaled sharply, her body finally giving in. She had won, but at a cost. Her head throbbed. Her limbs were numb. The blood mixing had drained her strength far faster than she expected. She turned her head and looked at Eli. He was breathing better now. His lips had color again, but he wasn't waking up. "Eli," she whispered, "you're safe. You don't have to fight anymore." She rested her hand on his chest. Then the ship rocked. Boom. She flinched. The rescue pod's eye lit up in red again. "Warning, core overheating. Hull stability 20%. Evacuation recommended immediately." Lyra tried to stand, but her legs buckled. "Not now," she muttered. She crawled to the panel, slammed her hand on the emergency beacon. No response. The storm outside had cut off the uplink. She looked back at Eli. Still out cold. "No one's coming," she said to herself. "So I'm getting us out." The cargo hatch wasn't far, but her body was giving up with every step. Her legs dragged. Her eyes blurred. But she moved. She sealed Eli inside a safety wrap, lifted him over her shoulder, and stepped into the heat. Wind hit her like knives. Dust stung her eyes. The mountain path was sharp and uneven, made worse by the storm's aftermath. Lyra slipped more than once. Her knees bled. Her hands burned. But she didn't stop. "He carried me," she whispered, breathless. "Now I carry him." Each step felt heavier than the last, but every time she thought about falling, she remembered his words, "You're alive. That's enough." 3 hours passed. No signal, no ship, no help. Only mountains, silence, and the weight of a human on her back. She collapsed beside a rocky ledge. Her hands were bleeding now. Ayla's wrap was soaked with sweat. "I don't know how humans do this," she mumbled. Then she heard it. A faint hum in the sky. Lyra blinked toward the clouds, red lights flashing between dust clouds. She stood up and waved weakly. "Here. Down. Here." The ship didn't see her. It was too far. Too high. Then she saw the flare gun, still strapped to Eli's belt. With shaking hands, she pulled it free, aimed into the sky, and fired. FWOOSH. A line of red cut through the storm like a scream. Rescue ship turned. A spotlight cut through the clouds and locked onto them. Lyra fell to her knees. "They saw us." Minutes later, the ship landed. Medics rushed out. Lyra couldn't even speak. She just pointed at Eli and collapsed. When she opened her eyes again, she was in the med bay. Clean, bandaged, alive. Eli sat beside her in a hospital chair, eating a dry nutrition bar like it was the best thing on the planet. "You made it," she croaked. He looked at her, eyes wide. "I made it? You dragged my half-dead body across a mountain, Lyra. You would have done the same. I didn't have to. You beat me to it." She gave a tired smile. He leaned forward and took her hand. "No one's ever saved me like that." She didn't say anything. She just squeezed his fingers. "Guess. We're even now," she said. Eli chuckled. "Not yet. You still owe me for breaking my purifier." They both laughed, but deep inside, something had changed between them. It wasn't about saving lives anymore. It was about not letting go. Asterisk. The stars above her homeworld had never looked so different. Lyra stood on the balcony of the alien capitals. Medical tower, wrapped in a fresh robe, her silver hair still unbrushed. The scars on her arm were healing, but something inside her was not the same. For the first time in her life, she felt like a stranger among her own kind. Below her, crowds gathered. Not for her, but for him, for Eli, a human, a man who should have been forgotten in fire and smoke, but instead had returned as a symbol. Lyra turned as the door behind her slid open. Eli walked in, still limping, still bandaged, but walking. "You clean up well," she said, smiling. He grinned. "Took 3 nurses and 2 translators to get me dressed." She laughed gently, then looked down at the city lights again. "They've never done this before," she said. "Done what?" "Given this much attention to an outsider, or to a hero." Eli raised an eyebrow. "You're the hero, not me." She shook her head. "I'm just the one who carried you. You're the one who changed the way my people see humans." Earlier that day, Lyra had stood before the High Assembly, her planet's most powerful leaders. She had never spoken in that chamber before. Her rank was too low. Her status, unimportant. Until now. Now they sat in silence, watching her closely. She spoke simply, clearly. "You all know the crash, the fire, the glue that nearly killed me," she said. "You know the scans showed no hope. You know the reports said I should have died." She paused, but one human heard a voice your machines missed. One human walked through fire when others turned away, and when I told him to cut off my arm, he said, "No, I'll try something else." The crowd murmured. He burned his hands for me. He risked poison. He stayed when the timer told him to leave. "Why?" She looked directly at the assembly. "Because that's what humans do," one elder stood. "Are you saying this human, this outsider, should be honored on our world?" "I'm saying he should be remembered on every world." Now back on the balcony, Eli stood beside her. "I heard they offered you a medal," he said. "They did. I refused. Why?" "Because I didn't earn it alone." He looked at her, his eyes softer than usual. "You could have let me die. That mountain nearly broke you." "You were already broken," she teased. He smiled. "Fair." She took a deep breath. "They want to know more about your kind now. Your rescue teams, your emergency tech, even your blood." "Dangerous," he said. She nodded. "But worth it." Then she turned serious. "There's more." He looked at her. "They want to offer Earth an alliance." Eli blinked. "An alliance?" "Full cooperation, medical, trade, defense." "Because of me?" "Because of what you did, and how you did it." He sat down slowly. "I was just trying to help one person." "Exactly," she said. "And now thousands may be helped because of that." A few hours later, the assembly broadcasted a message across systems. "For the first time in history, we recognize a human not as a guest, but as a brother, a protector, a friend." Lyra watched it from a distance, standing beside Eli in the fire viewing hall. "You know," she whispered, "you'll never be able to walk through a crowd here without someone trying to hug you." He smiled. "I'll survive." She looked at him. "But can you survive the next part?" He raised an eyebrow. "What part?" She leaned in, eyes playful. "The part where we tell my parents I shared blood with a human." Eli turned pale. "Oh no." The invitation was fake. The dinner was a trap. And the moment Lyra walked into the private hall with Eli beside her, she knew something was wrong. The lights were too dim. The air was too still. The guards standing at the door weren't from her family, they were from the syndicate. Eli stopped walking. His human senses weren't perfect, but even he felt it now. "What's going on?" he asked quietly. Lyra's eyes scanned the room. Her body stiffened. "They didn't want to honor you," she whispered. "They wanted to capture you." "For what?" "For what's in your blood," she said. "They think it can be weaponized or sold. The same blood he used to save her life, the same blood they now wanted to take. Before he could answer, the wall behind them slid open and 4 masked figures entered. Each held a stun rifle. One of them spoke. His voice was sharp and calm, human. "Come quietly. Your blood will help save our kind." Eli stepped in front of Lyra. "That's not how you save people." The leader raised his weapon. "We'll ask one last time." And that's when Lyra's voice turned cold. She stepped forward. "No." The guards hesitated. "You're threatening my human," she said. Her words weren't loud, but they cut through the room like a blade. Eli looked at her. "Lyra, don't do anything crazy." But she was already moving in one smooth motion. She pulled the stun rifle off the nearest guard's belt, flipped it, and fired at the lights above. The room went black. Screams echoed. Blasts fired wildly. The air filled with chaos. Lyra grabbed Eli's hand. "This way." They dashed through the hall, dodging shadows and weapons. Eli's leg was still injured, but adrenaline kept him running. "They planned this," he gasped. "I know," she said. "But they don't know me." They burst into the side corridor, where a royal transport was waiting. One of her cousins stood outside holding a key. "I knew they'd try something," she said. "Go, I'll cover you." Lyra nodded once, then helped Eli into the shuttle. Doors shut just as another explosion rocked the upper hall. Inside, Eli slumped into the seat. "Remind me never to go to dinner with your family again." Lyra knelt beside him, brushing dirt from his face. "They weren't my family. Not anymore." The shuttle rose into the air, heading for the human embassy ship waiting above orbit. Silence filled the cabin, until Eli finally spoke. "I thought I was dead back there." Lyra looked at him. "You were never alone. I was ready to surrender. I thought maybe giving them what they wanted." She grabbed his hand. "Don't ever think like that again." His eyes met hers. "I've seen. People risk everything for power, Eli. But you risked everything for one person. Me." She leaned closer. "And I swore no one would ever hurt you for that." They arrived on the embassy ship, where Earth's officials welcomed them like heroes. Eli was offered medals, honors, and interviews. He refused them all. When they asked why, he pointed at Lyra. "She's the one who saved me." They tried to give her awards too. She refused just one thing: a separation order. Earth was planning to leave orbit. Her people wanted her to stay, but she didn't. "I'm going with him," she told the council. Wherever he goes, they didn't understand it, but they didn't stop her. Weeks later, aboard a peaceful space station between Earth and the stars, Eli and Lyra stood side by side, watching a human child and an alien child laugh in the hallway. "Think they'll ever stop staring at us?" Eli asked. Lyra smiled. "Let them stare. They think it's strange." "It is strange," she said. "But sometimes, strange is exactly what the galaxy needs." He wrapped his arm around her shoulders. "And sometimes the galaxy needs one stubborn human and one alien who refuses to lose him." They both smiled together, and this time they knew no one was going to tear them apart again.